Okay, so moving on, we've created our blank template kit, which we can use every time we want to build a sample-based kit. Now let's build a sample-based kit with it and look at some of the things that we have to do to make a fully finished sample-based kit from the empty template kit that we just created in the previous video. So at the moment I've got the after party on here. I'm going to go to user patches and load up the template 2 that I created in the last tutorial. This is just the same as the template one, but I did it again for the video, right? Okay. So we've loaded up our DMD Drum Machine Designer template, blank template, right? Everything's blank. All the titles are just vanilla. And open the Ultrabeat. Right click on the pitch for any pad. Open plugin window. That opens the Ultrabeat. Make sure the chain icon is turned off. Now we don't need this for a while, so we just get the Ultrabeat. Okay, right. So we're just going to start loading. I'm going to build a Roland TR707. So we're going to just start loading the samples into the major voice slots. They're the ones that are not these vanilla perk slots. Okay. So starting with the kick, load sample. It takes me to my Ultrabeat samples factory location. Here in kits, a shortcut, I've got some 707 samples. So bass drum 1, load it into the kick slot. Now when I load that sample, the fourth envelope, amp envelope, decay time jumps to the same length as the sample. So leave that alone. As you load each sample, the decay time for each voice that you load a sample into will jump and set itself to the length of the sample you've just loaded. Leave those alone because we're going to refer to those at the end in the last bit of housekeeping we need to do to build the kit, right? So that's the kick. Next, the click or side stick. Load sample. And that's going to be the, what's that? The rim shot, they call it. Snare 1. Load sample. That's, what are we? SD1. Clap. Load sample. Is that the clap? Yep, clap. Snare 2, load sample. SD2, snare drum 2. Tom low, load sample. That'll be this one, Tom 1. Hi-hat 1, closed hi-hat 1, load sample. Hi-hat close 1. Tom mid, load sample. That's Tom 2. Hi-hat 2, closed hi-hat 2, load sample. That'll be that one. Tom high, load sample. It's Tom 3. Hi-hat open, load sample. Yeah, it's that one, hi-hat open. Then we have the two vanilla percussion slots. We'll jump over those, go to the crash, load sample. That'll be that one. Next we have a vanilla percussion slot, jump over that to the ride. Just filling in the major drums first. Ride, R-right should be. And then another vanilla slot, jump over that to the for the last major drum slot, kick 2. That one there, right? Kick 2, load sample. Kick bass BD2, bass drum 2. That's it, we've loaded all the major drums. Now that leaves the cowbell and the tambourine, and there's a little bit of extras you've got to do to get those right. Now I'm going to put the cowbell and the tambourine into these two vanilla percussion slots here and here, the first two working up from the bottom between the hi-hat open and the crash. Now we need to identify which pads on the Drum Machine Designer are connected to these two voice slots in the Ultrabeat. So we switch on voice auto select. This is where it does come in useful, the voice auto select, and open our Drum Machine Designer. Okay, now we click on a pad and it will select the slots in the Ultrabeat that the pad is connected to. It happens to be these two because I already actually did some dragging around. but it may be over on the other page here. You know, when you click these pads with voice auto select on, it shows you which voice it's connected to in the Ultrabeat. So you go and you click the pads and you find the pads that are connected to the Ultrabeat slots that you want to load the extra voices into. I want to load the tambourine and cowbell into these two vanilla percussion slots here, and these two slots are connected to that pad and that pad. Now one's going to be the tambourine, one's going to be the cowbell, but these pads don't have the right icons. Now sadly, due to the way Apple have done things, there is no way to change these icons for the pads. You can't. Right? So we have to load a factory voice with the correct icon onto the pad to get the right icon on the pad. So let's make this one the cowbell. So I'll select this pad and I have to load a factory cowbell. And they should be in percussion. Cowbell, there's some to choose from here. Anyone will do. I'll load the Atlanta one. So I load the Atlanta cowbell, Drum Machine Designer voice patch onto that pad. Boom. Now I have a cowbell icon on here. But of course, by loading that factory voice patch onto this pad, it's also loaded the factory voice into the Ultrabeat slot for that pad. Now we want this to be our vanilla voice patch. So what we do is we go to any of the other vanilla percussion ones, copy the vanilla patch, come down to this slot here, which is going to be the cowbell, the one we've just loaded this factory voice into, right? And paste in our vanilla voice. So we get the vanilla voice patch back on this slot again. Title it, in this case, cowbell, and now load our own custom sample. Load sample. And it's that one. Okay, now doing it that way, we now have our vanilla patch back in the Ultrabeat with our custom sample and the correct icon on the pad connected to that Ultrabeat slot. Now let's do the same for the tambourine. This pad is connected to this next perk slot I want to put the tambourine into. So again, I have to load a factory voice onto this pad with a tambourine icon. So tambourines are in shakers. Here they are down here. I'll load up any of them, the Deep Tech one. Boom. I now have a tambourine icon on this pad, but of course by loading that factory voice into this pad, it's loaded the factory Ultrabeat tambourine voice accompanying that for the factory Drum Machine Designer voice. It's loaded the tambourine voice into the Ultrabeat with all the synthesis. So again, we want to make this our vanilla synthesis. So I go up here to any of these vanilla slots, copy the vanilla voice patch, come back to the tambourine, paste in the vanilla patch, retitle it tambourine, and load up your custom sample. Load sample, tambourine. There it is. Now we've got our vanilla patch with our custom sample loaded, slot is titled correctly, and the pad connected to it has a tambourine icon. Okay. Now, because we copied a vanilla patch from up here and pasted it into the cowbell and tambourine slots just now, these two slots now have the incorrect output just here and here. So we need to reset the outputs for these two. So that's voice 12, assign its output to subgroup 12, output 23, 24. This is voice 13, the voice slot numbers are written here, look. Voice slot 13, assign its output to subgroup 13, output 25, 26. That's it, all done. Okay? Turn off voice auto select, we don't need that now. That's that. Now the next thing we have to do is title up. Show, we don't need this now. Go to the mixer and open up the stack. Inside the stack, select the first channel inside the stack, the actual Ultrabeat instrument channel, output 1, 2 for the Ultrabeat, the main output. Hold down Shift and select the final Ultrabeat output. All Ultrabeat outputs are highlighted. Right click anywhere, create track, and it creates a track for every Ultrabeat output. All these tracks are connected. These are the tracks for the Ultrabeat outputs and the pads on the Drum Machine Designer connected to those Ultrabeat voices. And now we've got to go along and just title them. So 707, we just title after the hyphen, right? So I'll title the first one, Command C, copy it, and then go down and just paste in 707 on all of these. 707, it's a bit, you know, this is housekeeping stuff, but you know, you want your kit to be perfect, right? Come on. Tom mid 707. Hi-hat 2 707. Tom high 707. Hi-hat open 707. Cowbell, that's Atlanta, where we loaded up the icon by loading a factory voice. Just overwrite that. 707. Same with tambourine. It was the Deep Tech tambourine we loaded up to get the icon. Just paste the 707 over Deep Tech. Crash. Come on. That's a vanilla perk slot. Ride. That's a vanilla perk slot. And finally kick 2. Done. Everything titled. All the icons correct. And if we look in our Drum Machine Designer now, everything's titled right. Everything says 707 after it. Okay. I've got all the 16 TR707 voices on this page, but if you wanted to, you know, if some of the percussion ones were over here, or the snare 2 and the kick 2 were over here, you'd have to drag them over onto this page. So if you want to, they're all on the same page, right? For me, I did the dragging already before I started the video, right? So everything's there. All the icons are correct. Everything says 707 after it. Lovely, jubbly. And over here we've got these spare pads. Right. Right, now that's that. So that's the first bit. So let's save it now. Close the Drum Machine Designer. Select the track. Save. It takes you to user patch location. I'm going to call this DMD, Drum Machine Designer 707. I could call it TR707. I'll just call it 707. Save. Oh, that's it, done. There it is in user patches, DMD 707. Now I'll just remember, we made a track for every output to title the outputs and the pads, and that puts tracks here into this stack. But when let's load up a factory one, after party, and now go back and load up our user patches, DMD 707. The stack is gone, the track stack is gone when you reload after saving. Only the stack is only there inside the mixer. Okay, that's it. Lovely. Okay, now that's the first bit. There's one further item of housekeeping we have to do. So select any voice, right click on the pitch, open plugin window, which opens the Ultrabeat. Turn off the chain link icon, very important. Okay, now we don't need this for a while. One last thing to do. When we loaded our custom samples into each slot, the amp envelope decay, the fourth envelope, amp envelope decay, jumped to set itself to the maximum length of the sample. So the amp envelope decay for each voice slot we choose is set to the length of the sample we loaded. Now what we've got to do is this. Go back to the mixer, open the stack, select the first channel inside the stack, the main Ultrabeat output 1, 2 with the instrument on, hold down shift, select the final Ultrabeat out, right click on any of the highlighted Ultrabeat outs and create track. Again, we create a track for every output. Okay, now we open the smart controls. So if we select the kick, these are the smart controls for the kick, and that kick track is for the Ultrabeat output, and the pad connected to this Ultrabeat voice. Okay, so now we've got to go along and we've got to set the maximum length on the length smart control here to the decay time that was set automatically when we loaded each sample. It's a bit laborious, but we have to do it so that when we put the length to full, we get the maximum sample time and it is allowed to play all the way through, and then if we reduce the length from there, we're making our sample playback shorter and shorter which we may need to do as we're tweaking things in the mix. Right, okay, so starting with the kick track, which is connected to this kick voice and the ultra beat. Editor open, length control highlighted. The decay time is 130, so with the length control here selected, I go here and put that value in here. 13000 milliseconds, 130, the same as the decay time. Now the minimum is 30 milliseconds, that's good. I want a nice short time, 30 milliseconds is good. Next, the click track, connected to this click voice and the ultra beat. Decay time, well now this, sometimes you get this weirdness. With the decay time here it says less than less than 0001 milliseconds. I don't know why it does that sometimes. If I just move this a smidge, 130 roughly. Okay, so length control selected. Set the decay. Set the max time here to the same, 130. The minimum in this case is 5 milliseconds, 500. So I'm going to change that to 30. 3000. Okay. I'm going to make the minimum for everything 30 milliseconds, which is very short. And for the hi-hats, I'm going to make it slightly shorter, 20 milliseconds. Right. Okay, that's the click done. Snare 1 next, connected to this snare 1 voice. 170 milliseconds. Let's just reduce the zoom. 170 milliseconds. Length control selected. Maximum value the same. 170 milliseconds. 17000. Done. Minimum 30. That's good. Clap track next, selected, connected to the clap in the ultramute. Decay time, again it's doing that weird minor, less than okay, so again you've got to slightly just move this just a smidge, about 170 for the clap. Length control selected, type in here 170. Minimum 30, that's good. Next, the snare 2, connected to this voice. Decay time 170. Set the same here for the max, for the length, 170. The minimum is 15. I'm going to just make that 30. Tom low next. This will be a longer decay time. Tom low, and the decay time is balls. The decay time is. So I accidentally moved the envelope handle insert. 720 milliseconds with the length selected. 720 milliseconds, 72000. Minimum is 30, that's good. Hi-hat 1, connected to this ultra beat voice. Hi-hat 1. Decay time 140, length control selected. Make the maximum 140. And the minimum for the hi-hats, I'm going to make 20 milliseconds because they're quite short already. Tom mid, connected to this Tom mid ultra beat voice. Decay time 690 milliseconds. Length control selected. Make the maximum here the same, 690. 69000. Minimum 30. That's good. Hi-hat 2. Hi-hat 2. 180. Length control selected. 180. Minimum. Just going to bring that up to 20. Tom high. Tom high. Decay time 710. Length control selected. Maximum 710. Minimum 30, that's good. Hi-hat open. Hi-hat open. Decay time 350. Length control selected. Maximum 350. Just bring up this minimum to. I'll make that 30 because the hi-hats, open hi-hat's a bit longer. So I'll make it. The other hi-hats, the two closed ones, I made a minimum of 20. This hi-hat open has a longer decay time, so I'm going to make its minimum slightly longer at 30. Cowbell. Connected to the cowbell here. Decay time 180 milliseconds. Length control selected. Maximum 180. Minimum 30. That's good. Tambourine. Tambourine. Decay 260. Length selected. Maximum 260. 26000. Minimum 30. Crash. Crash. Maximum decay time 1500 milliseconds because obviously it's a longer one. The crash lasts a long time. 1500 milliseconds. Length selected. Make the maximum here the same. 1500. 1500. Minimum 30. vanilla percussion slot next, then the ride 1300 milliseconds, length selected, make that the same here, 1300, 130000, minimum 30, that's good. Next, vanilla percussion slot, jump over that, and finally the last one, kick 2, connected to this Ultrabeat Voice kick 2, decay time is 120 milliseconds, length selected, maximum here, value set to 120, the same, 12000, minimum 30. That's it. Now it's a bit laborious that, but you have to do it. Because now, whichever voice you select, when you set this length to maximum, the decay time will be exactly the same length as the sample. So you'll hear the sample play all the way through to the end. Reduce it down from that and you're making the sample play back shorter and shorter and shorter. Okay, it's a bit time consuming, that last bit, but there it is. It would be nice if Apple built something so that when you load the samples, the smart control for length sets itself automatically to this decay length, but there it is. Alright, right, that's everything. That's all the housekeeping done, the final bit. So we close the editor, smart control editor, close the smart controls, compact our stack, close our Ultrabeat. That's it. All the lengths now are set for all the drums. Okay. Finally, save again. Save. Overwrite to update. Replace. Boom. And that's it. All done. We got our TR-707 all done. So I'll just solo the kick here. Now the length control we set to the length of the sample, so when it's at maximum the sample is playing all the way through. Shorten it and the sample plays back shorter and shorter. Ah, wait a minute, that's the sorry, I got the tom low pad selected here. Kick pad selected. Length shorter and shorter and shorter like that. Yeah. Snare shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. And of course, if you want to, you can go into the Ultrabeat and design yourself a different decay curve for the amp envelope decay, you know. Okay, all done, that's it. So we'll stop the video here now, and we'll move on to the next bit where I'm going to show you how to populate extra percussion. You know, because these pads have got these strange, you know, some of these are effect icons and some of these were previously effects voices and some of them were percussion voices. So we'll look at adding some more voices to this kit and how to fix those problems with these strange icons and making sure you get the right icons and all that. Okay, so we'll leave it there for that. One TR-707 kit.